Alright guys, so as I promised in my earlier video from today, in which I voted on the categories for the KCAs, I'm now going to give my thought on the ceremony. A couple things to say off the bat. First off, this is very off the cuff. I don't really have many notes, primarily going off of memory, but then again it just ended, so it's pretty okay to go off memory to me. Secondly, the audio. I understand if the audio isn't great, but again, just bear with me, please. There are a lot of kinks I'm trying to get worked out, so hopefully the audio isn't that terrible. We'll see when I finally upload this. So, with all that said, let's get to the actual ceremony itself. So, overall, what did I think of the ceremony? Just to get that out of the way. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. Talking about the host first, Nick Jonas is not a good host. He's not. He's no Jack Black. Honestly, I think they should just get Jack Black to do it indefinitely, because he's the only host I've ever honestly watched that genuinely seems excited to be doing what he's doing. With Nick Jonas, he's trying to do comedy, he's trying to tell jokes, and it doesn't work. It falls flat, at least to me. And it doesn't help when, in his opening monologue, if you can even really call it that, he purposely asks the audience to indulge him to have the announcer, who isn't Tom Kenny, but I'll get to why that's kind of cool in a minute. But purposely asks the announcer to say that he's hosting again. He's not a good host. He should not host it more than once. It was nice if they wanted to try something different. To me, it didn't work out. So yeah, that's basically overall what I think about Nick Jonas as host. He's not a good host. End of story with me personally. Get Jack Black back. I think they're doing Kung Fu Panda 3, so I'm pretty sure this summer that's going to come out, and they do Kids' Choice Awards. He's probably going to be the host again, so that that'll be entertaining. But other than that, he didn't really do much for me. First off, I just want to say about the actual ceremony. The first 10, 15 minutes or so, they did do a lot of padding. Between Nick Jonas's opening song, and then then they do the title sequence, and he comes down and he talks to the audience, and again does that indulgence thing, and then he introduces the presenters, the first presenters, and they had this weird thing with the screen where it was like an elevator sort of a thing, and the screen would open up and they would walk out. It was cool the first time, but they really needed to speed it up. They don't do it. They didn't do that often, but in the opening, it did kind of wear out its welcome for me. And again, I'm not saying they shouldn't have did it, but they should have spaced it out, not did it so many times in a row. Between the blimp thing, again, it was nice to see the blimp finally get some use, but it was only really used once to bring presenters out. So, that's, I guess, what you can get. But, within the first 10 minutes, all I was saying was one thing: just get to the point, get to the awards. We don't care about the stars. We just want to hear the awards. So, and again, the set for the actual award show itself was okay. But again, if they were going to do that elevator thing, they either needed to move the screen quicker or just drop the act entirely, because it really did get old after a while for me. Now let's talk about another thing that happened, which was their slime stunt. Every year, or majority of the years at least, they do some sort of big slime stunt. And they were advertising, at least in the show, I don't know how they're doing it outside, but at least in the show, they were building this up as, this is the greatest one yet. This is the one to top all the other ones. And you want to know what it is? It's a car wash. I am not kidding you. You can look up pictures probably. It's a car wash. So let me get this straight. Having a biker, a monster truck, and an Olympic skier jumping off ramps or jumping into pools of slime are nothing. They are weak compared to a car wash. You hear that, boys and girls? You want to experience the thrill of this year's KCAs? Go take your car to the car wash. Again, car wash. Give me a break. If you didn't have if you blew the budget on the screen elevator sort of a thing, fine, but don't do a slime stunt. And if you're going to do a slime stunt that's scaled down, fine, but don't build it up. Don't build it up as something that it's not. It's false advertising in a way. Again, it was cheap. It really was cheap. That's all I'm going to say on it. It was nothing compared to the other ones, and I think they knew it too. They just didn't want to say it. But another thing I will say about the slime stunt that doesn't really make much sense, and I'm hoping somebody in the comments can actually tell me how this remotely makes sense, because I can't think of one for myself. They said they got 5 million votes for the awards, for the categories. Impressive. Impressive to say the least. They don't say how many of those were repeat voters. I would wager about half of those were probably repeat voters, especially since one commenter said they voted like 8 billion times. But I digress. But the weird thing is that for the slime stunt, they said they got 7 million. Let me just say that again. 5 million for the awards, 7 million for the slime stunt. How is that possible? That doesn't make sense. Somebody in the comments, please tell me how that makes sense, because I really can't figure out how. Okay, so let's get into some of the highlights of the awards. And for me personally, there's only one. There's a highlight, and then there's a bad highlight. So let's get to the good one first. Favorite cartoon, actually, for me, was a highlight. Not because of who won, because, say it with me now, SpongeBob won. If you said SpongeBob, give yourself a pat on the back. If you didn't say SpongeBob, go get your head checked. I'm sorry. If you didn't think SpongeBob was going to win, I said it in the last video and I say it again. Get your head checked. SpongeBob always wins. They even said it in the award show that they win like 9 times at this point. 9 or 10 times. And the show's been on for 10 plus years. So go figure. But what was cool about it, at least for me as an animation fan, is that they actually, instead of having the characters be on screen, which is kind of what they advertised in the opening, they actually had Tom Kenny and Bill Fagerbakke, the voices of SpongeBob and Patrick, come out and accept the award on the show's behalf. That admittedly was a very big highlight for me personally, and I will commend them for that, because I think they're introducing to a lot of kids voice actors who might not have even known of Tom Kenny or Bill Fagerbakke to begin with. So I do applaud them for that. Now let's get to what I think is the worst highlight of the show, or the bad part of the show. And it was another award. It was Best Reality Show. Dance Moms won. Yeah, the lowest of the low. But what was worse was that when they came back from a commercial break after that, they had some girl, teenage girl, say, "I'm so happy that Dance Moms won. It's the best show ever." Gag me. If you really think that Dance Moms is the best show ever, again, go get your head checked. There are lots of better shows better than Dance Moms. Go watch those. Just putting that out there, because that did kind of make me do a double take. Another sort of fail of this year's KCAs was probably due to an untimely scheduled skit. If you don't know these types of award shows, they have the stars come out and they read off a teleprompter some witty dialogue, and then they present the award, and then the winner comes up and accepts blah blah blah. But the worst one probably out of all of them was Adam Sandler and Josh Gad. Yes, you did get your obligatory Olaf joke with Josh Gad doing "In Summer," even though Frozen Again wasn't nominated, which really doesn't make any sense considering how popular that movie is. Go figure. But they did this sort of skit because they were promoting Pixels, and they were talking about these guns, and like, Nickelodeon didn't want us to bring these guns here because we didn't want them. They didn't want us to shoot at you and send you up into space or something like that. And Adam does his, or no, Josh does his, and it doesn't work because it's a fake gun, or it's obviously a fake gun, but they say because you're not an alien, that's why you didn't get blasted off. Then as they're doing this, Adam is getting on one of his that's going to obviously slime him. But the funniest part of that is it needed the aid of a stagehand to not only put it on him, but to also tell Adam how it works. Yeah, I'm not kidding. There'll probably be a clip of it on YouTube. Adam Sandler doesn't know how to use one of his... that was funny. Uh, but again, another weird thing. This is going to get into a sort of side rant that I won't try to make too long because I don't know how long this video is going to be. But they had Paul Blart, Kevin James, on the show. They didn't introduce him as Kevin James. They introduced him as Paul Blart because apparently Paul Blart's getting a sequel. Okay, let's start this rant. Why is Paul Blart getting a sequel? Paul Blart Mall Cop happened 5 years ago. Paul Blart is no longer relevant. It's not the kind of movie that deserves a sequel. I didn't think it was terrible, but the story was ended. You know, me and one of my friends from the Pie Guy Rules live streams, Ring of Derp, shout out to you, Ring of Derp. We're talking about it on Twitter, and he said it's like making, it's like they're making a Hercules 2, and I'm like, yeah, with half the talent. Hercules 2 would have more talent than Paul Blart 2. It's a cash-in. It's Happy Madison. There you go. They made Grown Ups 2 for Pete's sake. But, so that was really weird. The weird thing about it was they didn't give him much to do. They brought him out there. He just did spins on his, on his little motorcycle thing. I can't remember for the life of me what that thing's called. That he had in the first movie. They just did spins around who's actually talking. And then they come back and he's like, well, and he doesn't even say anything funny. Like, if he was funny, that'd be different. But, and it's like, well, that's pepper spray. And she's like, well, it looks like silly string. And he gets hit by silly string. It's painful. A lot of these are painful to watch. I think they either need to not have it scripted or they just need to they need to not have it scripted. The presenters, little monologues, don't have those scripted. Have the important ones scripted, but have all the other ones just be off the cuff, something that the actors come up with backstage right before they go on to talk about. Do that. I think that'll be a lot better and a lot less awkward for the audience. So overall, like I said before, it wasn't a bad show, but it wasn't a good show by any other means either. Was I disappointed? Kind of, but then again, with Nick Jonas as host, I don't know exactly what I was expecting. But there's nothing else that I can really say about it. If you watched it, leave a comment down below if you actually liked it. Tell me why you liked it. If you absolutely hated it, tell me why you hated it. If you're like me and you're sort of in the middle of the road, tell me why you're in the middle of the road. And there's nothing much I can say on this one, guys. If I had to give it a star rating, like if I was honestly giving this a star rating, I'd give it a 2.5. Honestly, because it wasn't that good. It was kind of boring, honestly, at a lot of sections. But they did do, I think, a lot more awards on stage. I think they have in previous years. I don't know that for sure, but I think they have. But, again, I apologize if I missed anything. It was just very off the cuff, just sort of based off of memory. But, there's nothing else I can say on this one, guys. Until next time, I'll be seeing you. Bye.